My intention in delivering a message and sharing my own story with the world is to remember that, there may be some things that I'm talking about that make you feel uncomfortable or uneasy, and I just invite people to take care of themselves, whatever they need to do, because it's not an easy story to tell, and I pride myself on really encouraging people to take good, loving care of themselves, and to know that my intention is one of love and to bring hope, love, and inspiration to the world, even though it is a hard story to share. Dr. Adrian Fletcher. I am a licensed psychologist, certified EMDR therapist, and an EMDR approved consultant. This will be my 18th year in mental health. I have not always served as a psychologist, but I will be on my own in private practice for 6 years this spring. So I never intended to come forward with my own story of recovery in mental health, and I decided that due to the level of stigma that surrounds my particular diagnosis, which is dissociative identity disorder, that I was no longer willing to remain silent due to the intense level of stigma that exists. I have quite a story, and it is not an easy one to share, and although there's this beautiful backdrop and I've had a lot of help putting all of this together, it was important to me to create an atmosphere that made me feel comfortable to share my story. Dissociative identity disorder, formerly known as multiple personality disorder, which a lot of people have a lot of fascination around. Actually, when people use that term, it bothers me a great deal. I don't find it fascinating because it's caused me a great deal of pain, and even though I've come to a place in my healing where I see it as a life-saving gift, it has been incredibly difficult. And a lot of people don't understand exactly what DID is, so certain media outlets have misportrayed it, and people like me, have been made to feel like they are crazy or dangerous based on how it has shown up in some films. How I would describe it is a person experiences extreme childhood trauma, and as a result the brain dissociates and it holds on to different pieces of that trauma, almost like a puzzle. And there are different puzzle pieces that sort of represent a person's different parts of themselves, and that is where the trauma is stored. And because there is some amnesia associated with dissociation, you do not have full and complete memories of actually what happened. So it's not uncommon for people to go all the way to their 30s or 40s and not yet have a diagnosis. They call it a hidden diagnosis for a reason, and as a field, we're missing it. How do I capture what my life was like before and how that led me to where I am today? I would give you a different perspective on what it looked like. So my mom was a single mom raising 3 girls. My sisters are 10 and 11 years older than me. She had to work for everything, to give us a better life than she had. I moved around a lot as a kid, so I lived in one part of New England, and then we had to move to another part because my mom was trying to further her career. I did not have necessarily an easy upbringing. My mom always made sure that we were provided for and had a home and clothes, but there was no emotional connection or attachment. There was not a lot of nurturing, and there was a lot of trying to figure things out on my own. My sisters, would take care of me, and that was not their responsibility. They were children themselves, and they did an amazing job being role models of trying to manage life, but it was a very lonely upbringing. It was around the age of 13 that I can recall, just having an awareness of the alcohol use of my father, and there were some pretty dangerous situations. High school was really challenging. I was failing, and I actually had a high school history teacher who was also my psychology teacher, who saw my compassion and empathy for other people and asked me if I had ever considered a career in counseling. And at that point I was not considering a career of any kind. I didn't even think I was going to graduate high school, and so I wasn't sure where I was going to end up. But she really was a pillar or an anchor of a mentor. From there I knew that I wanted to be a psychologist, but I had no idea on how I was going to get there. I also realized that if I stayed in my hometown or I stayed around my father, that I was not going to make it out. And so with the help of this teacher and being motivated, I actually put some more effort into school, and I ended up graduating high school and being accepted to college, and going away to college was probably the best thing I did for myself at that time. In college, things were Pretty good. I mean, I definitely probably have done my fair share of partying in college, but I also took on leadership roles and ended up thriving in college, graduating with honors, giving my commencement speech for my college graduation. Around 2012, 2013, had gone to therapy actually because my husband had talked about, wanting me to work through a lot of my anger and reactivity. I was very reactive, very angry, and at the time I was working through something that had happened in college, and a lot of stuff was coming up, and that therapist had casually mentioned the diagnosis of DID, and I wasn't ready at the time to hear it. Left that therapist, started with a new therapist who actually became quite a really great therapist in terms of building a healthy attachment with me, but there was a lot there that I wasn't ready to share or disclose with her, and worked in therapy several years with that particular therapist until a triggering event in 2016, which led to a lot of fear and a lot of overwhelm, which we know now was the parts getting overwhelmed and actually thinking somebody was after me, because there was a lot of that happening in my childhood, but it kicked up a lot of fear and triggered a decompensation where I was unable to take care of myself, which led to a voluntary hospitalization. And I say voluntary because I put myself there, but had I not, I was just about ready to have my husband intervene and be, I guess, what they would call committed to the hospital. It was really hard to sort of get back to life after that experience. I ended up kind of going and seeing my couples therapist, and she really challenged me on my relationship with alcohol. And there was a lot that happened from 2016 to 2018, and my mom passing away and being challenged around my alcohol use. And her and I together really discovered and confirmed the diagnosis that I was originally told but was nowhere near accepting. Life is beautiful now, even when there is some really challenging things going on in the world. I'm able to focus on the present and look at the beautiful things in my life that I've created, and the incredible village of people that have been on this journey with me. Everything from therapists to body workers to yoga therapists to my friends to the people I've met in treatment, who have been some of the most incredible people I've ever met. And my clients, what a gift I have been given to be able to serve them. They've inspired me my whole life. Everything from the clients I served when I was 22, 23 years old working in the homeless shelter to being in a private practice in Scottsdale. Every single person I have worked with has taught me more about mental health than any textbook I would ever read. And I think one of the most disturbing things I was ever told as a new trainee coming out of school with my master's was never trust a mental health patient. It's disgusting that that was ever said, and heartbreaking, because I am a mental health patient, and everyone in this country or everywhere, there is no health without mental health. And I think we need to do a lot of things differently so people can feel like they are human and be treated with kindness and respect. And we need to stop over-pathologizing people, because I've been over-pathologized and it does not feel good.